This is chapter 18, section 3, and it's on viral diseases. The key concept here is that some viral diseases can be prevented with vaccines. Okay, so viral diseases. There are two things that are going to cause a disease. It can either be a virus that's going to cause a disease, or you can have a disease that's caused by a bacteria. Um, Reminder, bacteria are your prokaryotes, which prokaryotes are the cells that lack a nucleus and they lack organelles. Whereas viruses, all they had was that protein, that outer protein coat, and DNA or RNA. Viruses essentially aren't living. They're basically just these parasites that need some sort of another sort of living cell in order for them to survive. So they'll use as a host, or what they're gonna be a parasite on. They'll choose animals. Specifically they'll choose us. And so one type of viral infection is the common cold. A common cold is kind of those random sicknesses you get. Usually it's maybe kind of around fall where you get an infection of your nose and throat. So you get your nose gets all stuffy, your throat gets sore, and it's not the flu. If you went to the doctor, it would say, "Oh, well, it's not the flu; it's just the cold." And the cold is kind of this catch-all term that means a bunch of different things. It basically just means, you know, many different kinds of viruses can cause the cold. Code word winning. Okay, another kind of viral infection is influenza. So influenza is the flu. And influenza, or the flu, can be deadly, especially amongst elderly people and young babies. The flu can be deadly. For teenagers, young adults, normal adults, flu is really not typically deadly. It's just really annoying. Like if you get the flu, you're usually, you have a fever and feel pretty bad for maybe 3 or 4 days. And so that's caused by, a virus. It's caused by this virus right here. Another kind of virus is called the SARS virus. The SARS virus was kind of famous, it was kind of early 2000s. It had this big outbreak over in East Asia, and it causes a respiratory illness. So it gets more down into your lungs, where you start feeling it way more in your lungs, and it's caused by a type of virus called a coronavirus. Knowing each of these different types of viruses, especially for your STAR test, it's not so important. Really, the main idea is just being aware that types of diseases can be caused by viruses, and really understanding the structure of viruses. Another kind of virus is HIV. Code word copia, or for you English speakers, copy. All right. So HIV is a virus. It's this virus right here, and it causes what's known as autoimmune deficiency, or AIDS. So how this works is the HIV virus will attack not just any cell in your body, but specifically white blood cells. So white blood cells are your immune cells. They're the cells that make up your immune system. And why that's important is because if you get these white blood cells destroyed, by this virus, your ability to fight off infections is decreased significantly. And so that's where immune deficiency comes in. So this virus, this HIV virus here, will kill off all your white blood cells and will cause your immune system to be really, really weak. And so that condition where your immune system is so weak that you can't even, basically it's like, if you're outside even, like you'll basically just, you're at risk of dying, because you'll catch anything. And this state of your body is called AIDS, or autoimmune deficiency. So people who have AIDS, they don't die directly from the HIV virus. They die from some sort of normal infection caused by a different virus. Like they might die from the flu. So they die. So HIV, the HIV virus kills them indirectly because it's killing them because it's killing off their ability to fight other things. It's kind of like if you're fighting an enemy, and um, it would be like imagine you're trying to open up like a can of mayonnaise, and like you can't get it open, but like you spend a ton of time, and then you hand it to like your little sister, and your little sister can open it, and you're like, hey, what the heck, I loosened that up for you. Basically it's like, without me, you wouldn't have been able to open it up. That's kind of how HIV is. Where without HIV, the flu wouldn't have been able to normally kill that person, but because that person had the HIV virus first, that HIV virus kind of loosened the lid of the mayonnaise jar, so to speak, so that another virus could come in and kind of finish the job on the body. And the body has natural defenses against viruses. And these natural defenses are called antibodies. So antibodies, you can kind of think of them as like the little warriors inside you. Like whenever you're sick, the things that are fighting for you, like helping you to kill, it's mainly going to be your immune system. So you hear people saying, "Oh, this boosts your immune system," and you're kind of like, what does that mean? Like, what is the immune system? Like, what is part of that system? And there's many different parts of it, and we'll have a different video talking about the immune system, but a big part are these things called antibodies. And these antibodies, how they work is you have your virus right here, and these antibodies bind to the very outside of the virus, to these proteins on the outside of the virus. And basically, they just coat this virus with antibodies. And they coat them so that another cell, another one of your cells of the immune system can come along and grab onto this immune system and grab onto this virus and basically just swallow it whole. This cell will just, if this is kind of like going from here to this cell, your white blood cell here will basically just swallow this virus whole by grabbing onto these antibodies. Okay. The problem is sometimes we have these antibodies, and these antibodies, sometimes they can't grab onto this virus because these antibodies have a specific shape. What I'm talking about is this sort of V right here. So sometimes, and so the shape of this antibody is going to vary depending on which virus it's trying to attack. Meaning, if you remember from whenever we were talking about viral structures, viruses have a bunch of different structures. They can be like a sphere, they could be kind of a rod like this. Sometimes they can be like a more spiral shape like that. And so and all along here you have these different proteins that are sticking out. These proteins right here that are making up that capsid or that outer shell of the virus. And these antibodies come in and they grab on to this virus. I won't sit here and draw antibodies for 5 minutes, but this whole entire thing just gets covered in antibodies. However, these antibodies have to be able to grab on to this specific type of protein. So your body may not be able to recognize this specific kind of virus. So to help your body recognize this specific kind of virus, we make a vaccine. This right here. To make a vaccine, we take that virus that we want to develop resistance against, and we put it inside a blender. And basically we just chop this virus up. Just chop it up into a bunch of little pieces, boom, 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 boom. And then we take that virus, it's all chopped up in here, and we put it inside this syringe. Okay, and then you take this syringe, this vaccine, and you'll stick it in this young stallion right here, this young vaquero. This is me when I was like 5. Not trying to brag, but this girl right here, she does have her arm around me. Like to point that out. I got a nice overbite going here. Um, it was all downhill from here. This is my peak. Um, Code word dinero. All right, so you take the vaccine that you just made, and you stick it to my arm, and you give me the vaccine. And what this vaccine does is it trains my body, it trains my antibodies here to be able to recognize the virus. So before, we couldn't recognize this virus. Our antibodies weren't able to bind onto it. But once you exposed my body to the virus, my antibodies were then able to, check mark. They were able to then bind onto the virus just like this because they were able to see these proteins here. They were kind of it's almost like imagine like a basketball game where you like watch film of the other team. You're able to kind of scout them out, so to speak. That's kind of what our body does. Okay, and there's a lot more details to that. That's just kind of you know very quick introduction to how an antibody would bind and attack a virus. So this kind of summarizes in a way what I'm saying, and it's really the main points I want you to get from this. It's that vaccines are made from weakened pathogens, so pathogens that are, and by pathogen, we're talking about like viruses. Man, this pen is so bad. And bacteria, it's like worthless. Okay. My pathogens are talking about viruses and bacteria. And again, the vaccine stimulates your body's own immune response. It basically trains your body to be able to fight that virus. And it prepares your immune system for that future attack. So it allows your antibodies to be able to recognize that virus. It's basically like, you can almost think of a vaccine as like, imagine you're trying to catch some killer that's out in the loose. It's basically like going around handing out flyers of like the person that escaped from jail. Like, hey, we're trying to catch this killer. Here's his picture or her picture. If you see him, report him, kind of thing. That's essentially kind of like what your body's doing. It's training the people, or the antibodies and the your immune system to be able to recognize those viruses. And I'm not gonna read off this chart to you, but this is just kind of going over some really popular viral infections like chickenpox, hepatitis A, mumps, rabies, West Nile, and whether or not we have vaccines for them. And vaccines are the only way to control the spread of viral diseases. That's really, really important. The only way you can stop the spread of viral diseases is by giving vaccines. And that's because when you have a bacterial infection, you have antibiotics. If you're being infected by a bacteria and that's what's making you sick, your doctor can give you an antibiotic to fight it. But if you're infected with a virus, if you have a viral infection, you can't fight off that virus with an antibiotic. You have to use your own body's immune system, your own antibodies to fight that virus. So basically, you have to train your body to be able to fight it. Code word Josue.